Right. Okay, so let's get right into business. The ongoing issue with the government is confusing.
Yeah.
It's very confusing because as far as the public knows, December 2019, this whole thing was supposed to have ended.
Yes.
But then it continues. What is happening? For the lay person who is not following politics actively,
Yes.
what is happening?
This is what exactly happened. The government had the intention of keeping me in detention beyond December of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Around December 6, 2019, I was kidnapped from the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was an uproar. But they had already obtained what they wanted from the judge,
Right.
which is a conviction that was non-custodial.
Okay.
Non-custodial in the sense that, yeah, they can't keep me in custody anymore, but they have been able to convict me somehow
Right.
to be restricted to Abuja, the
Yes.
federal capital territory,
Yes.
where, of course, they can plan other things. That's all they wanted, because they never had a case. They've looked at it, even their legal advisors and everybody has told them there's no case here. As of 2019 December, let me say as of 2020, end of 2020 and 2021, they were only able to present a witness who said clearly that he merely observed a civil action somewhere in Lagos. That was a DSS officer. So that shows clearly that they had nothing to prove that I committed any crime. So for them, this is what they somehow wanted. Yes.
To keep you in Abuja.
Keep me in Abuja.
Yes.
And then expose me to all kinds of state and non-state actors.
Yeah. So what did the judge supposedly convict you for?
I wasn't convicted.
Yeah, you said you
I use the word convict
Yes.
advisedly. Is that a judge says
You
to
can't
me, I can't leave.
Yes.
It's never happened in the history of Nigeria. Probably happened to one person only, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who was detained somewhere in Lekki. He was restricted to Lekki area of Lagos.
Yes.
Before he was eventually convicted of treason. Mine was the second only known bail condition that required that you can't leave a city. So effectively, I'm in city detention. So I can go anywhere in Abuja, but I can't
Leave Abuja. Yes. So that means, does that mean, again for the public, does that mean that the case is, so you've been granted bail, but does that mean the case is ongoing? Because if it's ongoing, we're not seeing any action on that.
No, there's no case. So as I'm speaking with you, technically there's no case.
That's the confusing
There's no case
thing.
going on. The judge who restricted me to Abuja abandoned the case completely after she was transferred to, I think, Calabar, as Justice Ijoma Ojukwu.
Yes.
She refused to continue with the case. I think she realized also
what was going
how
on.
bad the case was. And she said, typically when judges are transferred like that, they are given a fair out to come back and complete, some of their ongoing cases. In my own case, she doesn't want to continue. So the case was transferred to another judge, Justice Egwatu. He sat. We were not notified that I was supposed to be arraigned again. The government did not show up in court. I didn't show up in court because nobody was notified. And then he adjourns a case of this gravity until March 1 next year, 1st March. So technically, I don't have any case pending anywhere, except I'm properly arraigned again, which hasn't happened in this case.
It's deeply, it shows the nature of the Nigerian state, I assume, but it's deeply frustrating because let's assume that you didn't have, let's assume your livelihood which is affected in any case.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you're cut off from your family.
Yes.
You can't leave this small city. The intent, I'm assuming, from your perspective, is just to shut you down.
Oh, absolutely. I think had it been possible to kill me the night I was arrested, they would have done it. But because even after I was arrested, they denied that they weren't the ones who did it.
Yes.
Until my colleagues and the lawyer involved obtained a CCTV of the hotel. It wasn't until then that they admitted I was in their custody. And since I've been in Abuja, you know, you can see a mark on my face. My face I was attacked brutally one night, the crossover night of 2020 and 2021 by a police officer, and he almost killed me. You know. And I've been shot at by another police officer with a riot gun.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've also been attacked twice now by non-state actors at the premises of the Federal High Court.
Yes.
So all of these things are plotted into, is part of a larger plot of elimination. You know, you can call it elimination series. First, they go after my physical liberty. Secondly, they went after what is supposed to be my business, the Sahara Reporters. They surrounded the offices of Sahara Reporters Media Foundation,
yes,
where they thought we were publishing from in Ikeja for several months and weeks, and froze all the accounts related to my personal account and the business account, and then engage in all these physical attacks. And of course, you can imagine the psychological part of it, of being trailed everywhere I go to in Abuja sometimes, not being able to stay in a place, you know, without suspecting people, you know, strange people moving around. So it's all holistically an attempt to just completely shut me down and shut me up and shut me out of my country.
Shut you down, shut you up, shut you out.
Yes.
Okay, I have to ask this. Each time you share these videos, or especially, I remember especially when you shared the video of the gunshots, alleged gunshots to your thighs, the police or government spokespeople or government actors on some level say you are exaggerating, lying, or being dramatic.
I mean, I was shot at in front of a camera. I identified the officer who shot me. I identified exactly when he was bleeding. I was taken to 2 hospitals in Abuja. The first one didn't have the capacity to treat me immediately because my lap where I was shot, my thigh was swelling uncontrollably. I ended up in a hospital around here. So I was treated so that it could be verified that I was shot at with a riot gun. So what is the exaggeration there? But of course, it has become part of the strategy of this government to not only commit atrocities of this nature, but justify it or try to cover it up. And they have an army of propagandists, trolls, you know, Katawelas all over the place who are willing to change the narrative as quickly as possible. When I was detained with the DSS, you know, I was kept in isolation for so long and without information that, you know, their goal was to make me feel that I'd been abandoned and forgotten. And when I was released, coming to the courtroom to abduct me and then taking me back to the DSS and putting me in isolation again and telling me that it's over. You saw, we abducted you in front of a judge and the country is happy about it. You know. And then subsequently after release, every other thing that's been done to me, being isolated from your family, your kids, and then getting your brother killed in the midst of all this.
So you're accusing the federal government of doing that?
Who is responsible for crime? Mostly against people who are opposed to the government. It's the government. If anybody has an interest in killing me, it will be this government. If anybody killed my brother without explanation, my first suspicion or accusation legitimately will go to the government. Till date, they have not even called my family back regarding an investigation. Even when we were trying to do autopsy, they were making it hard to do so that we won't find out how he was killed. And then one night they sent me some pictures of people they claim were arrested, and they said they were going to parade them, just like, a month after my brother was killed. Till date, nothing has been heard about that investigation. And there was not even a pronouncement made by the police except blaming my brother about his murder. They blamed him for not stopping, according to them, when the assailants stopped him.
Wow.
That was the position of the police commissioner in Edo State and the spokesperson till date.
When we said we were going to put WithChude on a subscription platform and have people pay for the content, people said I was running mad. Like Nigerians to pay for content. We had faith. We had faith in the audience. We had faith in you. We had faith that people will see that this content matters, that these stories matters, and that the energy we're putting out into the world truly matters. And we said, you know what, let's let the audience affirm that. Let's let the audience decide. The stories we do here, they uplift people, they encourage, they hold them, they keep them, they teach them, they transform. With the emails we get about lives transformed, blow my mind. And to be able to stick with the kind of stories you want to tell, to be able to not negotiate or compromise, to be able to follow our heart's song, we do need those subscription numbers. We do need people who say, look, this is worth paying for. And because of your support, we are able to keep telling these stories. There are interviews we've done that we've kept. We've said we're not publishing this one because it doesn't fit the mission we have for the world. So I call you to make that decision, to be part of this journey. Subscribe right away on WithChude.com. You can subscribe for the videos, you can subscribe for the podcasts, you can subscribe for the newsletter, you can subscribe for our annual book, or you can subscribe for everything at once in one package. Let's be human together.
You were, for a few weeks ago, I think, you were in the Federal High Court again,
Yes.
Observing the Nnamdi Kanu trial,
yes.
where you were allegedly attacked by non-state actors. But some people would say that if this government really wanted to shut you out and shut you down, then you wouldn't be walking freely in Abuja. Like, look at what they did to Nnamdi Kanu. Look at what they've done to Sunday Igboho. That surely that your freedom,
Yes.
stands against the accusation that they want to shut you down.
Well, you are saying that I'm free, which is incorrect. I am not free. So I took a decision to free myself. Yes. And it was a decision that was a hard one to take because I knew the dangers involved in continuing to feel free to do what I absolutely believe in to be right.
What do you mean by you took a decision to free yourself? How?
Well, I could have decided based on the circumstances surrounding me, their own machinations, to just hide inside a room and never go out and never talk again and try according to their own machinations to appeal or apologize to them or even switch over completely to their own side. But I refused. If the Kanu strategy were to work, I could have left.
So why are you here?
I'm here because I believe in here. I don't want to go and save another country. I want to save my own country. And I've always understood that it would take a lot of sacrifice to do that.
Part of doing this interview, first and foremost, I can't pretend not to. I was part of an editorial board a few years ago that announced you as, Person of the Year.
Yeah.
So I can't pretend not to have some kind of opinion on what's going on as far as that action is, and I was an active part of that board. I agreed with that decision. So I've always wanted to talk to you, but part of speaking to you is I made a promise to my chiropractor.
Yeah.
I meet with him twice a month, and he's always asking me, how far we Sowore? And if he's going to watch this, because I'm going to tell him to watch it, and he says, you guys can't abandon him there. What are you guys doing? So he's always. So I said, you know what? I'm going to I plan to do this interview. I'm going to find out. But the question he asked is, which is what I want to ask you. This country, is it really worth this amount of sacrifice? Can it really change? The things that you are fighting for, good. There's a 6 or 7 points demand where you announced the Revolution Now hashtag in 2019. I think there was a list of demands. Those things. There are so many people in the country that do not believe that they will ever happen in this country.
Yes.
So what's the point?
Well, there are so many people who didn't believe that blacks would ever vote in the U.S. There are so many people who didn't believe that women would ever vote or have some kind of equality with men in several societies. The demands that you saw were completely ephemeral, compared to what I want to see. The demands,
it down.
Yeah, it's because we had to break it down to the populace at that point, so that you don't overwhelm them with demands that, as you have mentioned now, or insinuated, are unachievable. So you have to speak to things that they can relate with. The children going to school, good roads, employment, good hospitals. But Nigeria's problem is bigger than those things. First, I would throw away the constitution. But the moment you start going there, people are like, wow, it's like you want to end the religion. And I'm telling you, Nigeria is a religion. Yes.
Nigeria is a religion.
Yes, it's a religion of oppression. It's a religion of deception. It's a religion of subjugation. And it's a religion of a disease known as Stockholm Syndrome.
Okay. Break it down. You've said that what is the revolution that you want? Describe it. What is the thing that you want to see? And how do you want to get there?
The revolution I want to see is very clearly defined. I define it to the point that it's part of court records.
So a friend of mine reached out to me a few months ago and said, Chude, I want to support your show. How can she support as an individual? And I bless her, because we said to her, you know what, there are people who need this show, who need the things we talk about loss, about divorce and, depression, pain, shame, joy, happiness, love, peace. People need it, but some of them can't afford the subscription fees to watch the full episodes. And so she said, oh, I'll be glad to do that. I'll be glad to do that. And I said, okay, great. So let me know what you want to do. And she got back to us and she said, I'll do $500,000. I'll send you $500,000 to sponsor a particular number of people for 3 to 6 months. Mind blown. And we thought to ourselves, you know what, we should make this into a proper partnership program. And so today I'm excited to announce the WithChude partnership program. Go to partner.withchude.com, partner.withchude.com to sponsor people who need these shows, who need these stories, who need these lessons, but can't afford it. You can sponsor as many subscriptions as you like. You can sponsor for as long as you like. You can do 3 months, you can do 6 months, you can do 1 year. I'm really grateful to my friend. She doesn't want her name called, but it starts with a J. I'm grateful to her for her support. I'm grateful for all of you for your support, for your validation. I'm especially grateful to her for her opening this field of partnership. The WithChude partnership program I see becoming something really special. And so I invite you to join us and let's be human together.
I've told it to everybody that cares to listen that this country needs to experience an uprising, mass uprising. And for it to happen, which is how it is to get there, is for people to abandon the fear they have, jettison the fear they have of the system. And also for those of us who are driving it to accept that people can enter the revolutionary process from their different levels of consciousness. So everybody don't have to be sure. You don't have to be as aggressive as I am. But for everybody to have an understanding and the education and the consciousness that without this uprising happening, we are going nowhere. And it's a Nigerian thing too. And that's why Nigeria has remained like this for so long. The political class or the elite can predict that Nigerians don't like to take risk of a political nature. Nigerians will take other kinds of risk. They will risk their entire savings on an unpredictable investment. But they don't like to take political risk of unpredictable nature. They are more comfortable with political risk that they can calculate the outcome. So even if we produce the worst experiences for them, they're largely comfortable with that. And the political class understands that very well. In fact, to the point that they keep asking themselves, they keep wondering, I won't say they keep wondering when they will run out of luck. And they've never run out of luck. So they've organized themselves around that understanding.
Yes. So I still want to break it down a bit. So if there's an uprising, I'm going to ask about the nature of the uprising, but if there's an uprising, that means an overthrow of the present government or not?
It's not the government that matters alone.
Okay.
It's the order.
So what does that mean practically? So I want to explain it practically. So there's an uprising. What is this order and how will it be overthrown?
Yes. If people decide that they can no longer tolerate a system of oppression, of subjugation, that is particularly disorganized. Because I've asked myself several times, what is government in Nigeria? Considering that everywhere else I've been in the world, you can't compare even the worst form of democratic government with that of Nigeria. If you ask of the federal government, it's even more befuddling because these are a bunch of jokers. In reality, we just sit around, praise one man to high heaven, Mr. President, Mr. President, allocate resources supposedly to the people, but mostly to themselves. And at the end of their tenure, everybody disappears with their own chunk of what they can steal. There is nowhere in the world, including Afghanistan, that this is done.
I want to go back to the revolution. So there's an uprising, institutions are uprooted, which be able to make it practical. If you're talking about government, you're talking about business, you're talking about corporates, you're talking about the stock exchange, you're talking about religious organizations, you're talking about all of these things. So people come out, perhaps in the nature of Ivory Coast, they chase all these people out. Then what happens next? I want you to describe it.
That's very, very clear. I'll give you a small example of NSAS.
Right, yes.
What was the grasp of the people? Police brutality. It was sparked by a known event. The guy whose video led to NSAS wasn't even killed. But there had been this anger against police brutality. But again, for students of history, those of us who were looking at it knew it wasn't police brutality. There was mass discontent in the country, and people were just looking for outlets. With NSAS, had it continued for 2 weeks more, a lot of people would have run away from this country. So-called elected officials, and the people were already organizing themselves. What a revolution does is it throws open the prison that's been holding good people, and you'll be surprised how suddenly they could come together or come out, and a belief system will rise that will place them where they need to be temporarily. And when that temporary process is over, then people have the free hand to redesign the path for the future.
I guess I understand it. You are talking about the equivalent of what, economic theorists around the Enlightenment, when they were talking about markets, talked about the invisible hand of the market, which is that when you bring a number of human beings together, they will organically gravitate towards the common good.
Yes.
And so you're using NSAS to explain that, see where this was going. While it would have looked like chaos, counterintuitively, the people themselves created some order.
Yes.
And you have to trust that organic order to produce good, because we have historical parallels for this. That's the case. Yes.
It is the case.
Right.
But it's not just the case.
Okay.
It was a tested hypothesis within a short time.
Yes.
That did not fail anybody.
Right.
Don't forget that during NSAS, there was introduction of chaos by the state, and NSAS initially overcame that. Where NSAS had its fault, which we've all discussed and will continue to analyze for a long time, but I don't want to overanalyze it. It's at the point where there was a conscious decision not to have leadership. Because it had the opportunity of emerging leaders, and all that needed to happen was for that to grow and to expand. And somehow, some decision makers, I don't know who they are today, said, no, we don't need leaders. Even ants have leaders.
If it is true that the NSAS movement was going beyond police brutality, was tapping into mass discontent against the powers of the day, then someone will say that an establishment person, and by establishment I don't mean a person in government, I mean just a random person in Abuja or Kaduna who has a fleet of shops everywhere and is afraid of chaos, will say that then it was legitimate for the government that was elected to ensure social order. Even if this social order is oppressive, if people voted for this order, they say they want to manage their suffering, and they have elected a government to maintain that order, that was legitimate for that government to rise against forces that wanted to uproot it.
No, it's not.
How so?
Oh, you're talking about elected government, right? Who elected the government in the first place? The masses. It's just like there was an orderly process of election. Then there was going to be a disorderly process of election. And you cannot just put that down. And where you do that, you make a mistake. And it's our inability to capitalize on that mistake that led them to get away with it.
Right.
So the destiny of 200 million people cannot be tied to a businessman with a few shops.
Okay, I want to talk about, the toll that this is taking on your family. I mean, a year ago or so, your wife led protests, I think to I forget his name, a senator, Bob Mackenzie, I think. Yes. And I remember seeing this beautiful video of you with your daughters, driving on a road trip, I know because before then, I know intellectually that you have a family. But, you can know something as a fact, but I now realize, wait, sure is actually a family man who loves his daughters and takes care of his family. Don't you worry about I don't know, leaving them behind if the Nigerian state concludes what you say it's its mission in your matter? Doesn't that give you pause?
I consider it a privilege that I have an immediate family. But a bigger privilege that I have a nation or a country as my family at this time. Yes. You see, when you get to this level of activism, there are boxes you must tick. You can try everything you want to be with your family, but you lose your humanity when the majority of the people of your country can't be with their family. The family that we need to have is that family that is in need of help. I really think that this is a difficult argument to make. That's a difficult argument to make. Actually, most people didn't think that I had a family until I was arrested. And they saw my wife. And I saw that I have kids. Because activism had made me get used to walking a lonely path. A lot. So, but at the end, the truth is that you have a family.
It's almost pedestrian to ask this after all this conversation we've had.
Yeah.
But I think that I should. Will you run again in 2023?
I'm going to give you a pedestrian answer. I never stopped running since 2019.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure sitting here with you and having such an interesting conversation. So thank you for doing what you do too.
Thank you. Thank you.